The worst airplane crash in history. On August 12, 1985, Japan Airlines Flight 123, a Boeing 747, was preparing to fly from Tokyo's Haneda Airport to Osaka. The airport was crowded with travelers returning home for the Japanese holiday season, Obon. After boarding, the plane had 509 passengers and 15 crew members on board. For the pilots and crew, it was a routine flight, but the plane was carrying a hidden risk, a weakness in its tail that no one fully understood. The aircraft had already completed 5 flights that day, and its tail had suffered a previous accident 7 years earlier. The repair done at that time had been flawed, and this would soon have catastrophic consequences. The cockpit crew was experienced and capable. Captain Masami Takahama had over 12,000 flight hours, First Officer Yutaka Sasaki had nearly 4,000 hours and was awaiting promotion, and Flight Engineer Hiroshi Fukuda monitored the plane's technical systems. At 6:12 p.m., the plane took off smoothly, climbing toward its cruising altitude of 24,000 feet. 12 minutes later, a sudden, deafening noise erupted from the rear of the plane. The tail section had torn away, along with the rudder. The breach caused the cabin to lose pressurization instantly, and objects were pulled violently toward the hole. Passengers went from excitement to terror in seconds, and the cabin became chaotic as oxygen levels dropped and masks fell from the ceiling. At high altitudes, oxygen is thin, and the body struggles to function without pressurization. The pilots initially thought the noise was caused by the landing gear or an engine, but the reality was far worse. With the tail gone, the plane lost most of its hydraulic systems, which powered the ailerons, elevators, and flaps, the essential controls for steering. The autopilot could no longer work, and the aircraft began to sway uncontrollably from side to side. The crew quickly realized that the plane was essentially out of control. Hypoxia set in, making it harder to think clearly, and passengers and crew alike were at risk of losing consciousness. Despite losing nearly all control, the crew refused to give up. Their only tools were the engines. By adjusting the thrust of the left and right engines, they managed to influence the plane's roll and keep it relatively stable. Slowly, they descended from 24,000 feet to 13,500 feet to relieve the cabin pressure and make breathing easier. Every turn and maneuver was a struggle, especially as the plane approached the mountainous terrain near Tokyo. At one point, the captain shouted warnings as they narrowly avoided collisions, using only engine power to steer the plane. After 45 minutes of fighting to stay in the air, the plane crashed into the mountains. Only 4 passengers survived. Investigations later showed that the tail repair had failed under repeated pressurization, causing the catastrophic structural failure. The bravery and skill of the crew in keeping the plane airborne for 45 minutes under impossible conditions remain one of the most remarkable feats in aviation history.